Have you ever heard of a single battle that, against all possible odds, didn't just save a community, but completely changed the course of history? Well, that's the story we're diving into today. So let's get into how this absolutely pivotal moment went down. Okay, so to really get this, we have to set the scene. Picture this. A small community of Muslims have fled years of brutal persecution in their hometown of Mecca. They're now refugees in a new city, Medina. And they've lost everything. And I mean everything. Their homes, their wealth, it was all seized by the powerful Quraysh tribe. They were left with literally nothing. So you can imagine, when they get word that a huge merchant caravan from Quraysh is on its way back to Mecca, loaded with goods, they see a chance for a little bit of justice. And look, we need to be really clear about something here. This wasn't about being bandits. This was a mission to reclaim just a tiny fraction of what was stolen from them by the very people who had oppressed them for years. But, as these things often go, what started as a simple plan to intercept a caravan, well, it completely spiraled out of control. Suddenly, the tables were turned. The hunters were about to become the hunted. Okay, so the caravan's leader, this guy Abu Sufyan, he's no fool. He gets a sense that something's up, so he immediately reroutes the caravan down the coast and sends a messenger racing to Mecca for help. And this messenger, you're not going to believe this, he shows up in Mecca in the most over-the-top, dramatic way possible. He mutilates his own camel, rips his clothes, and rides into town backward, screaming that the caravan is being attacked. He whips the whole city into a war frenzy. So, just like that, the whole reason for the mission? It's gone. Poof. Vanished. Abu Sufyan gets the caravan away safely. He even sends another message back to the army that's now marching out, basically saying, "Hey guys, false alarm, we're good, you can head back home." But the army is led by this incredibly arrogant guy, Abu Jahl, and he is not turning back. He's like, no way. We're marching to Badr, we're going to party for 3 days, and we're going to make sure everybody in Arabia knows who is boss. This wasn't about a rescue mission anymore. This was about making a statement and crushing the Muslims for good. And this really puts it into perspective, right? You've got this tiny group, about 313 people, and most of them weren't even prepared for a real fight. They thought they were just raiding a caravan. And now, they're staring down the barrel of a full-blown, well-armed army of almost 1,000 warriors. We're talking more than 3-to-1 odds. It's an absolute nightmare scenario. So here they are, totally unprepared, facing what looks like certain death. And this is a key moment. The Prophet Muhammad gathers everyone, but he doesn't just order them to fight. Instead, he puts it to them. He asks the question that's going to test everything they believe in. So what do we do? Do we run? Do we turn back to Medina and live to fight another day? Or do we stand our ground right here, right now against this massive army? I mean, everything was on the line. Their lives, sure, but also the future of their entire community. And the response from the emigrants, the ones who'd fled from Mecca, it's instant and it's fiery. One of them, Al-Miqdad ibn Amr, he jumps up and gives this incredible speech, basically saying, we're not like the people of the past who told their prophet to go fight alone. No, you and your Lord go and fight, and we are right there with you. But you know what's interesting? The prophet asks the question again and again. He's not looking at the emigrants anymore. He's looking at the Ansar, the people from Medina who had welcomed them in. He needs to know if they're on board. And finally, their leader, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, gets it. He stands up and pledges everything. And in that moment, there were no more emigrants and helpers. They were one army, totally united. Okay, so with that settled, they're all in. They march to meet their fates at a place called Badr. And the night before the battle, something happens. Something strange. A little sign, maybe, that the odds weren't quite what they seemed. It starts to rain. But this was no ordinary rainstorm. For the Muslims, it was just enough to pack down the loose sand, making the ground firm under their feet. Perfect for fighting. But where the Quraysh were camped, it turned the ground into a sticky, muddy swamp. Talk about a strategic advantage. And this is before a single sword was swung. So the sun comes up on the day of the battle, and the prophet is just praying desperately. He's raising his hands so high in supplication that his cloak literally falls off his shoulders. He's pleading, saying, "Oh Allah, if this little group is destroyed today, you won't be worshipped on this earth." The stakes were just that high. And check out this story. It just perfectly captures the mindset of these fighters. A warrior named Umayr ibn al-Hammam is eating a few dates to get some energy. Then he hears the promise that martyrs go straight to paradise. And he just stops. He looks at the dates in his hand and says, if I wait long enough to finish these, that's too long of a life. He throws them on the ground and just charges straight into battle. Incredible!
Now, this is a really important point. Divine help did come, but it wasn't a case of just sitting back and watching angels do all the work. No way. The sources say 1,000 angels were sent to reinforce them, to help them. The idea was, you guys have to fight, you have to give it your all, and then our help will come to make your efforts count.
And the stories from the battlefield, they're just wild. You have fighters talking about hearing the crack of a whip from nowhere, and the enemy in front of them just drops. Someone else is about to swing his sword, and the guy he's fighting falls down dead before he even makes contact. Even the prophet's uncle, Abbas, who was on the other side, swore up and down that the person who captured him was some noble-looking guy on a beautiful horse, not the regular soldier who actually brought him in. And get this, the sources even say that the Quraysh had their own supernatural backup. Iblis, the devil, had shown up looking like a nobleman, hyping them up, telling them they couldn't lose. But the second he saw the angels coming down, he completely bailed. He literally turned and ran, saying, I see something you guys don't see, I'm out of here.
So, against all logic, against all common sense, they did it. The small, outnumbered group of believers won a massive, decisive victory. And news of this, it spread like wildfire across Arabia. Nobody could believe it.
For the Quraysh, it was an absolute catastrophe. 70 of their men were killed. And these weren't just foot soldiers. We're talking their top leaders, the bigwigs, who had been leading the persecution for over a decade. It was like cutting the head off the snake. And yes, that included Abu Jahl himself. A few days later, as the Muslims were leaving the battlefield, the Prophet stopped at the pit where the dead Quraysh leaders were buried. And he spoke to them. He called them out, name by name, and asked them, have you found what your Lord promised you to be true? Because I have found what my Lord promised me to be true. It's such a chilling, powerful end to that long, bitter fight. So, what's the big takeaway here? Why does Badr matter so much? Well, first, if they'd lost, that was probably it. Game over. The community would have been wiped out. Second, this victory completely flipped the power dynamics in Arabia overnight. And third, for the believers themselves, it was undeniable proof. It was confirmation that their sacrifice, their faith, it was all seen, and it was divinely supported. I mean, it really leaves you with a question, right? How can one single moment of pure collective courage against absolutely impossible odds completely change the destiny of a people and the world? Badr shows us that sometimes conviction can be a weapon more powerful than any sword.